throwaway account because, well, you'll see. I never thought I'd be that guy writing to a relationship advice forum, but here I am. 34, married for 7 years. No kids, decent job, nice house in the suburbs, 2 cars, dog named Lucky. From the outside, picture perfect. From the inside, I felt like a ghost in my own marriage. And I didn't even realize it until I read The Courage to Be Unloved, and that damn book punched me straight in the gut. That book talks about how we allow ourselves to be chained by the desire to be liked, to be validated, and how some people, often the ones we love the most, will exploit that desire. I didn't know I was living with one of them until one Tuesday morning, around 8:13 a.m. My wife told a lie so stupid, so unnecessary, that it cracked the mask she wore every day. She said she was going to her Pilates class. Fine. I kissed her cheek, made a joke about how expensive the gym was, and she laughed, sweetly, like always. I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? But about 30 minutes later, I realized she left her phone charging on the kitchen counter. Normally, I wouldn't touch it. I didn't want to be that guy. But the screen lit up while I was grabbing coffee, and my eyes, traitors that they are, read the first few words of a message. I can't stop thinking about last night. Your back was bleeding from the scratches, smiling face with horns fire. Now listen, I'm not a perfect man. I've messed up things in life. But I've never once cheated, lied, or made her doubt me. And in that moment, reading that message on her screen, something inside me cracked, and something colder started forming in the space it left behind. I didn't open the phone. I just stared at it. I waited. 45 minutes later, she came back, sweaty, smiling, holding a green smoothie like her life was a Pinterest board. She didn't even look nervous. How was Pilates? I asked, pretending nothing happened. She wiped sweat off her brow and said, tough. We did core work today. I'm gonna be sore tomorrow. She even giggled. I nodded. Cool. You left your phone. Her eyes flickered for a half second. Blink and you'd miss it. But I saw it. The tiniest panic ripple under the calm. Oh shoot, she said, grabbing it casually. No wonder I felt off. I didn't say anything else that day. Just watched. Observed. Like someone watching the animal they raised from birth slowly turn feral. I wanted to believe she just had a weird friend. A joke. A misunderstanding. But that message? That was real. And it was about last night. That was the moment I knew something was seriously wrong. But it was just the beginning. You think you know someone after a decade together. But I promise you this. Liars love routine. They hide behind it. And my wife? She was a damn professional. After that text, my whole world started to feel fake. I couldn't unsee it. The way she talked. The way she smiled at me like nothing had happened. I kept replaying that message in my head. Your back was bleeding from the scratches. Who the hell scratches someone's back in a gym class? Who talks like that if they're not doing something? I didn't confront her right away. I needed to be sure. I wanted to give her a chance to come clean. But here's the thing I learned. Liars don't confess when you give them space. They get bolder. So the next day, I did something I'd never done in our whole marriage. I followed her. She left around 7:45 a.m., gym bag in hand. I waited a few minutes, then grabbed Lucky and hopped in my truck. I stayed a few cars behind, felt ridiculous, like I was in some dollar store spy movie. And guess what? She never went to Pilates. She drove to some neighborhood 20 minutes away and parked. Walked right into a townhouse like she'd been there before. No hesitation. No knock. I waited. 10 minutes. 15. 30. I wanted to puke. I didn't even care if someone saw me sitting out front anymore. At 9:10 a.m., she came out. With a guy? Mid-30s, maybe older, big shoulders, and not someone from her friend circle. I'd never seen him before. She kissed him on the mouth like she hadn't kissed me since Christmas. And they laughed. That was the moment something inside me snapped. Not with anger, not even sadness. Just clarity. A horrible, cruel clarity. But like an idiot, I still didn't confront her that day. I needed to hear it from her lips. Because some broken part of me still hoped she'd say, I messed up. I'm sorry. So that night, I set the trap. She came home like nothing had happened. I made her favorite pasta. She kissed me on the cheek while texting someone on her phone, barely hiding the grin. And I asked casually, how was Pilates? She said, and I swear to God, it was so good today. We did this new circuit and I totally crushed it. I feel stronger already. Not just a lie. A built-out, decorated, garnished with detail kind of lie. And she said it while looking me right in the eye. That was the night I decided I needed to stop asking questions and start preparing for war. After that night, I stopped being a husband. I became a goddamn detective. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus at work. I'd lie in bed beside her while she snored softly, thinking about him, wondering how long this had been going on, what lies I'd swallowed before, how many nights I thought she was tired when she was just spent from someone else. So I did what I had to do. I made a folder on an encrypted USB drive. Wife, Lies and Proof. Classy title, right? Felt like I was preparing for a murder trial. But I knew I had to be smart. She was the kind of liar who could cry on command. If I didn't have evidence, she'd spin it back on me. Over the next few weeks, I gathered everything. Screenshots of texts that popped up when her phone lit up at dinner. A credit card statement showing a hotel charge on a random Tuesday. Photos I took when I followed her again. Her and the same guy coming out of a sushi place, laughing like teenagers. A receipt I found stuffed in her coat pocket from a fancy lingerie store she never brought my attention to. And here's the real kicker. I created a burner Instagram account and followed the guy. Didn't even have to try that hard. His account was public. In his tagged photos, a mirror selfie. My wife standing behind him, barely visible, but it was her. I'd recognized that stupid silver bracelet she always wore anywhere. Caption read, "Midweek recharge with my person Red Heart Fire." Posted 2 months ago. I stared at that post like it was an obituary. My marriage had died long before I realized it. You know what's messed up? I still wanted to be wrong. That's the power of wanting to be loved. You'd rather destroy your reality than accept the truth. That she's not who you thought. That she's not coming back. That she never was who she said she was. I kept reading The Courage to be Unloved during this time. One line stuck with me. Freedom is not doing what you want. It's no longer needing permission to be who you are. That's when I started thinking, maybe this marriage wasn't love. Maybe it was just dependence dressed up as commitment. I just wasn't ready to burn it all down yet. But I was close. It's one thing to lie about cheating. It's disgusting, sure, but there's motive. There's something to hide. But once I started watching her closely, I realized something worse. My wife lied, even when she didn't need to. For fun. For sport. Maybe just to feel powerful. One night, a few weeks after the sushi date I never got to eat, we were at dinner with my brother and his wife. You know, just playing normal again. Smile, chew, nod. My stomach was rotting. She brought up a story about a trip we took to Maine a couple years ago, how she got food poisoning from bad oysters, and I had to carry her back to the hotel. Everyone laughed. Except, that never happened. We never even ate oysters on that trip, and she sure as hell didn't get sick. I stared at her, and she smiled at me like, "Isn't this such a fun memory?" I said nothing. I just nodded along. Later, I asked her privately, "Why'd you tell that oyster story?" She shrugged. "People like funny stories." I thought it made the night more interesting. And she walked away. Just like that. That's when I realized something truly messed up. She didn't care about truth. She cared about narrative. She wanted to control how people saw her. How I saw her. And I'd spent years enabling that because I didn't want to rock the boat. I was so afraid of being unloved, unwanted, unworthy, that I let myself drown in her fiction. I was starting to understand what the book meant when it said, "To be free, you must have the courage to be disliked." I didn't want to be disliked, especially not by her. But now, I didn't even like the person she was anymore. I was starting to build a different kind of folder in my head, not one full of evidence, but one full of questions. Who was this woman, really? Did she ever love me? Or just the version of me that fit her image? Had I been nothing more than a side character in her story? The scariest question of all. Had I been lying to myself this whole time? I still hadn't confronted her. But the fire was rising. And the next lie she told would be the one that set everything ablaze. So, the day it finally blew up wasn't some dramatic movie moment. No lightning. No thunder. No dramatic background music. Just a stupid Tuesday. Trash day. She was in the kitchen, sipping coffee, and scrolling on her phone. Wearing one of my old hoodies, like some cruel joke. I'd barely slept the night before. I'd hit my limit. My dignity was bleeding out. I wanted answers. I deserved answers. So I asked her, flat out this time, "Are you cheating on me?" She froze. Didn't blink. Then she laughed. Like, actually laughed. "Are you serious?" "Babe, no." "God. What? Are you watching too many TikToks or something?" She said it like I was a child. Like I was being ridiculous. I stared at her, waiting for anything real to show up on her face. Nothing did. So I said her lover's name. Out loud. The guy from the townhouse. The sushi spot. The Instagram post. That laugh. Gone. She went pale. Eyes widened. For a second, just a second, I saw it. Fear. But she recovered quickly. You've been spying on me, she snapped, flipping it on me like I was the villain. Are you seriously stalking me now? That's abusive. Abusive. She was the one sneaking around, gaslighting, lying for months, and now I was the bad guy? I didn't even yell. I just opened my laptop, turned it around, and showed her the folder. Screenshots. Photos. Receipts. Her lies, organized by date. She went silent. Cold. Like a robot powering down. And then she said the most honest thing she ever told me. Fine. You weren't supposed to find out. Not I'm sorry. Not I regret it. Not even it didn't mean anything. Just, you weren't supposed to find out. That's when I knew she hadn't made a mistake. She had calculated this. Every kiss, every lie, every yoga mat she packed to go sweat it out. It was all a script. And I had been the dumb extra in the background. I didn't say another word. I walked out the door with Lucky and sat in my truck, shaking. The cold didn't even matter. I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was just empty, like someone had scooped my insides out with a rusted spoon. But underneath that emptiness, a flicker, small but real, the beginning of freedom. 2 days after the confrontation, she asked to talk. I agreed. Honestly, I was curious what kind of story she'd spin now that the mask was off. We sat in the living room, on opposite sides of the couch. Lucky lay between us like a hostage. She started with tears. Not the ugly, soul-crushed kind. No. Theatrical tears. Controlled, carefully placed sniffles. Like she was auditioning for wife who made a mistake, but is still a good person. She said things like, I didn't mean to hurt you. It just happened. You were distant. He made me feel seen. It's not what you think. I was lonely. Not once did she say I'm sorry. That's when it hit me. She wasn't trying to repair the relationship. She was trying to repair her image. She even threw in this gem. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd overreact. Oh, so cheating isn't the problem. My reaction is. Classic. I asked her how long it had been going on. She hesitated. Said, a few weeks. I told her I had proof it was at least 4 months. She blinked. Didn't deny it. Just went quiet. Like the script had run out of lines. I looked at her, really looked, and realized. I didn't recognize this person. The woman I married wouldn't have done this. Which means either she'd changed, or I'd been in love with a mask the whole time. And then, she asked this. Can we try counseling? Counseling. After months of lies. After gaslighting me. After sleeping with someone else and pretending I was crazy for suspecting it. She wanted to go to therapy so she could look like she tried. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just stood up, grabbed my keys, and said, I'll think about it. But I already knew. I was done. The only thing left was figuring out how I'd leave. Because freedom wasn't just about walking out. It was about walking out without carrying her guilt with me. And that part was going to take time. After that conversation, I couldn't stay in the house. Everything inside reminded me of a life I didn't trust anymore. The couch where we'd watched movies? She'd probably texted him with her head in my lap. The bed? That thing felt radioactive. I couldn't even look at it. So I packed a bag, grabbed Lucky, and slept in my truck for 2 nights. Not because I had nowhere to go, but because I needed to feel alone. Truly alone. No noise. No manipulation. No fake smiles. Just me, my dog, and the hum of a quiet night in a parking lot behind a 24-hour gas station. I remember lying in the back seat, wrapped in a blanket, looking up through the windshield at the stars. And you know what? I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel anything at all. I dreamed of nothing. That was the scariest part. Not the betrayal. Not the lies. Not even the humiliation. Just the numbness. It was like my emotions had gone on strike. Lucky kept me grounded. That dog didn't care if I was betrayed, broken, or broke. He just curled up next to me like, we're in this together, buddy. And somehow, that meant more than anything my wife had said in months. On the second night, I got a text from her. Where are you? Can we please talk? I didn't answer. She'd already said everything she needed to say the day she told me. You weren't supposed to find out. I realized I'd been living in a house of mirrors, every wall reflecting a different version of her depending on what she wanted me to see. But out there in that truck, stripped of all the noise and furniture and fake apologies, I finally saw myself. And I wasn't weak. I wasn't overreacting. I was waking up. I didn't know what the next step was yet. But I knew this. I wasn't going back to pretending. So I'm still laying low. Still avoiding the house. Still not responding to her. On day 4, I finally check my messages and see one from her sister. Let's call her Emily. We were never close, but she always struck me as the type who noticed more than she let on. Her message? Hey, just want you to know I'm not taking sides, but you don't deserve what she did. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I almost ignored it, but something told me to reply, so I did. We met for coffee later that night. Neutral ground, quiet place. I figured we'd just exchange a few words, awkward condolences, then part ways. But nope. Emily came in hot. She sat down, didn't even say hello, just blurted. This wasn't the first time. My stomach dropped. What? She sighed. I didn't want to be involved, but you're a good guy. She did this before. A few years ago. Not with the same guy. Someone else. My brain froze. I literally could not process what she was saying. This wasn't the first time. Apparently, she had an emotional affair, or at least that's what she admitted back then, when we were only a year into our marriage. Emily didn't know all the details, but she knew enough. My wife had told her, swearing she ended it and would never do it again. Spoiler, she lied. Emily looked me in the eye and said, I kept my mouth shut because I thought it was a one-time mistake. I figured it was between you two. But now I realize, this is just who she is. I felt like I'd been kicked in the chest. The foundation I thought was cracked? It was rotted through from the start. It made everything make sense. The little things I ignored. The passive-aggressive comments. The way she used intimacy like a weapon. The gaslighting. It wasn't new. It wasn't even recent. It was a pattern. And I'd been just a background character in her ongoing drama. The loyal husband. The provider. The fool. Emily put her hand on mine and said quietly, Don't go back. You deserve better. I drove away from that cafe in silence. No music. No tears. Just clarity. Sometimes, when the truth comes out, it doesn't shatter your world. It rebuilds it. The next morning, I went back to the house. Not to reconcile. Not to talk. I went to pack. I needed out. For real this time. I'd found a short-term rental on the edge of town that allowed dogs. Wasn't much, but it was mine. For walls that didn't lie to me. I walked in, and she was sitting on the couch. Like she'd been waiting. Her face lit up like I'd just come back from war. Oh, thank God, she said, like she was relieved. I knew you'd calm down. Calm down. I ignored her and went straight to the bedroom to start packing. That's when she followed me in and unleashed the next performance. She cried. Not quiet this time. Loud. Ugly. Desperate. But the tears had a different energy now. Not guilt. Not love. Fear. She realized I wasn't just mad. I was leaving. And then she pivoted. Suddenly, I was the villain. You're really just going to throw away our marriage? After everything I've done for you, you're giving up on us? You're abandoning your vows. I stood there, holding a duffel bag, watching her spin it like I was the one who cheated. Like I was the one who broke trust. Like she was the victim. She screamed that I was emotionally abusive, that I had abandoned her emotionally years ago, that I had pushed her into someone else's arms. And for a split second, I actually questioned myself. That's the messed up part. Even after everything, even after the lies, the gaslighting, the affair, I still had a moment where I thought, maybe she's right. But then I remembered Emily's face. I remembered the quiet in the truck. I remembered how it felt to finally breathe again. So I looked her in the eye and said, No one pushed you. You jumped. And I walked out. She didn't follow. She just stood there, in the house she thought she still controlled, finally realizing I wasn't coming back. A week after I moved out, I went back one last time. Not to talk. Not to argue. Just to grab the last of my stuff. Tools from the garage. A couple jackets. Some old notebooks. She wasn't home. I didn't tell her I was coming. I had a key. I used it. I moved quickly, grabbing the things that mattered, ignoring the urge to sit down and soak in the emptiness. I had no interest in nostalgia. But then I remembered something. There was a small box, tucked away on the top shelf in our bedroom closet. I hadn't opened it in years. I didn't even remember what was in it. But for some reason, I wanted to take it. Call it curiosity. Call it closure. I pulled it down, blew off the dust, popped the lid, and found everything I was never supposed to see. Printed emails. Old photos. Notes. Love letters from different men. Some were from before our marriage. Some were during. and one that shattered me all over again. He's so boring. I feel like I'm dying in this house. You're the only thing that makes me feel alive. I wish I'd met you before I made this mistake. That was written 2 years into our marriage. There were dates, details, plans. She had chronicled her affairs like they were poetry. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It was intentional, ongoing, strategic. I sat on the floor of that closet with the box in my lap, staring at the proof of how little I meant to her, how much of my reality was fake. She hadn't just lied to me. She had built an entire second life around it. And all I could think was, how did I miss all of this? But the truth is, I didn't miss it. I just didn't want to see it. I wanted the story I believed to be true. I wanted to love her. I wanted to be loved back. I wanted to feel like I was enough. So I told myself what she let me believe. That's what betrayal really is. It's not just the lie. It's the part of you that helped tell it. I left the box there. I didn't need it anymore. 3 days after the box incident, I got a call from a mutual friend. I'll call him Jason. Jason, bro, what the hell is going on? She's telling people you hit her. I swear my heart stopped for a second. What? Apparently, my wife, ex-wife-to-be, was going full nuclear, telling our friends, our families, that I had been emotionally volatile, scary, even physically aggressive. I laughed at first, not because it was funny, but because it was insane. I've never even raised my voice at her, let alone my hand. But she wasn't playing around. Within 2 days, her Facebook status changed to survivor of emotional abuse. She posted a quote about narcissists hiding in plain sight. She started tagging my friends, trying to weaponize sympathy. She texted my mom. Yeah, my mom, saying she never wanted to speak ill of me, but that I had anger issues I needed to work through. I was stunned. I knew she lied, but this was next level. I talked to my lawyer. Thankfully, I'd already started the divorce process and had 0 physical incidents on record. Clean as a whistle. Still, she tried to ruin me, tried to flip the script so she wouldn't be the villain. And here's the kicker. Some people believed her. That part hurt more than I expected. You think people know you. You think the years and loyalty and friendship matter. But some of them dropped me without even asking for my side. No call, no text, just vanished. But others? They stepped up. Jason, Emily, my brother, 2 of my old college friends. They said, we know who you are. Let her talk. That saved me from slipping back into that spiral, from trying to prove I was innocent, from begging for validation. Because here's the thing. You don't owe proof to people who never asked for your truth. I learned to let people believe what they want. If someone can believe the worst in you without hearing your side, let them go. Because I was finally starting to understand. Her biggest fear wasn't being unloved. It was being irrelevant. And now that I'd stopped reacting, stopped chasing, stopped caring, she was screaming into the void. And no one was listening. The funny thing is, I didn't even know about the book at first. The Courage to Be Unloved. A friend recommended it, thinking I'd relate. I rolled my eyes at the title. Sounded like some self-help nonsense you read while crying into herbal tea. But one night, sitting in my crappy rental with the dog at my feet and takeout on my lap, I cracked it open. And something in the first chapter punched me in the chest. Freedom is being disliked by the people you no longer need approval from. That was it. That was her. That was my entire marriage. I had spent years, trying to earn love from someone who didn't even respect me. I ignored red flags. I excused cold shoulders. I explained away silence and distance and suspicion. Why? Because I couldn't handle being disliked. I needed her approval. I needed her to like me, even when I didn't like myself anymore. That book slapped me in the face in the best way possible. It told me the thing no one else did. It's okay to walk away and be hated, if it means you finally respect yourself. So I did. I stopped explaining myself, stopped replying to her manipulative texts, stopped worrying what her friends, or my friends, or the whole damn world thought about me. I started lifting, cooking, volunteering once a week. I got a dog trainer for Max, who now wags his tail like he's never seen sadness in his life. And for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Not happiness. Not yet. But peace. Which, after everything, felt like a freaking miracle. Just when I thought I had finally turned the corner, she popped back in. Like a ghost that shows up when you start sleeping peacefully again. It was a Wednesday, mid-afternoon. I was working from home, sipping coffee, Max curled up under my desk. And then ping. A message from an unknown number. Hey, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I just want to say I'm sorry. For everything. I've started therapy. I realize how badly I hurt you. I hope someday you can forgive me. I stared at it for a long time. And you know what? I didn't feel what I thought I would. No anger. No panic. No hope, either. Just emptiness. I had spent so long needing her to say those words. Apologize. Take responsibility. And now that she had, it didn't matter. I didn't respond. Not because I was trying to be cold. Not to get revenge. But because I'd finally learned. Closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you decide you don't need anymore. She didn't get to enter my life again just because she felt guilty. She had burned her bridge, then torched the ashes. All I did was stop trying to rebuild it. That night, I went for a walk with Max. The sky was burnt orange. The air smelled like fall. I wasn't thinking about her. I was thinking about dinner. And for once, it didn't feel like I was surviving. It felt like I was living. After that message, things went quiet. No more drama. No more flying monkeys. No more half-baked attempts to smear me online. It was like she finally realized she couldn't control the narrative anymore. And maybe for the first time in her life, she gave up. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I just kept moving. But something strange happened after the dust settled. People started coming out of the woodwork. Old friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Coworkers who had silently watched it all unfold. Even her old roommate messaged me. I always wondered how you put up with her. You didn't deserve that. It was weird. Comforting, but weird. Not because I needed the validation, okay, maybe a little, but because it proved something I'd never allowed myself to believe before. I wasn't crazy. I hadn't imagined it. I wasn't too sensitive. I wasn't overreacting. Other people saw it. They just didn't say anything at the time. Because that's what people do when they don't want to get involved. And honestly, I get it. But I also learned this. Silence is its own kind of betrayal. And I promised myself, if I ever see someone being emotionally twisted, gaslit, broken down, I'll say something. Because I know what it's like to feel completely alone in it. To think you're the only one who sees it. To be made to feel like the villain for wanting to be treated like a human being. I wouldn't wish that feeling on anyone. So now, I speak up. For myself. And for others. It's been about a year now since the divorce finalized. The house is sold. Max is still my best boy. And me? I'm okay. Actually, no. I'm good. Not in a cheesy, I found myself through pain kind of way. But in the quiet, grounded sense that comes from finally being free of someone who made you question your worth every damn day. Let me be real with you for a second. If you're reading this because you're in something similar, if you're stuck in a relationship where you feel like you're never enough, you keep catching lies and then blaming yourself for being suspicious. You're afraid to speak up because it might start a fight. You're walking on eggshells while pretending it's hardwood floors. Please, stop. You are not crazy. You are not weak. And you are not broken for wanting basic decency from someone who swore to love you. What I learned is this. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is leave. Not because you don't love them anymore, but because you finally learned to love yourself more than their approval. I read a line in The Courage to be Unloved that stuck with me. To be free is to accept that not everyone will like you, and to live anyway. I didn't just survive this woman. I outgrew her. And that's something I never thought I'd be able to say. So yeah, she lied. She twisted things. She tried to ruin me. But in the end, she gave me the greatest gift of all. She forced me to find the courage to be unloved and become someone who finally loves himself. Thanks for reading. If you're going through it too, I see you. And you're going to be okay. Actually, you're going to be free.